We're in the middle of an intense political season in this country, and I've been privileged to be an advisor to a presidential campaign, something I've done voluntarily, both in this cycle and the last one. I'm a conservative and a Republican and an evangelical, and I've spent most of the last year trying to elect Mitt Romney as president. As an evangelical Christian, I was well aware of doctrinal differences between your faith and mine. But once I decided to help Mitt Romney, I began to see an all too ugly side of a theological divide.
The DeMoss name is a prominent name in evangelicalism. I think that's half of what, if I were Mitt Romney, I would want from evangelicals, that there would be some evangelical leaders who would be willing to support him as a candidate and assure other evangelicals that one can, in good conscience, with strong evangelical convictions, support Mitt Romney.
The first thing that put Mitt Romney on my radar screen was some polls that had begun to come out in 2006, asking the question, would you vote for a Mormon? And they showed significant numbers of Americans in general and evangelicals in particular said no. As an evangelical, we'd spent years talking about values, and here was somebody who clearly represented my values, even if he didn't represent my faith or my theology.
My own view as an evangelical is that it's time to stop thinking of Mormonism as a cult. Mormonism has become a significant world religion. There are some clear Mormon teachings that many of us disagree with. Well, for one thing, evangelicals hold to the view that the Bible alone is our authority, so anybody who's going to add a couple books to the Bible as their ultimate authority are going to be in big trouble with evangelicals. But in addition to that, when Mormons say that God was once a human being like us, that doesn't sound good to a traditional Christian or to a Jew who believes that God is God and we're not, and there's a huge gap between the Creator and the creature. Also, Mormons reject outright the doctrine of the Trinity.
In Christianity, because of the distinct identity of Jesus as the incarnate one, it would be impossible, in fact, it would be considered heretical to put another human being on the same plane. And in Mormonism, in fact, Joseph Smith is on, less than, but still in the same arena of being as Jesus. In fact, all human beings, in one way or another, are moving towards the reality of Jesus.
One thing is that we're overwhelmingly a Christian country.
I think Mormons are Christian, but broadly defined, not in that narrow traditional sense. I don't think Mormons want to be accepted as part of traditional Christianity. And we would freely admit that we're not. We are definitely non-traditional Christians because of these beliefs that are very different.
Both evangelicals and Mormons are very aggressive evangelizing groups. And so they're often trying to evangelize the same people. This adds a lot to the hostility between evangelicals and Mormons.
Should Romney be more open about his Mormonism and the role it plays in his own life? Perhaps. Could move one way or the other. I can see how talking about it more openly would clear the air. I can also see, though, how talking about it more openly may make the conversation even more conflicted, because when people begin to hear what Mormonism is, it requires a theologically deeper conversation, which is not bound to be an easy one.
For someone who's uncomfortable with a candidate of a different faith, for the most part, they're not satisfied by another meeting, an additional handshake or an additional speech.
I don't think we've seen anything yet. We're going to see a whole different frontal attack from the left if Romney is the nominee. We're going to see a whole bunch of stuff about Mormons and race and Mormons and gender, and boy, that's going to be hard to watch.
We can just look back in history and see Catholics weren't, considered appropriate. Women, in many cases, Christian or not, are not considered legitimate bearers of authority. African American, the list just goes on and on. Religious tolerance, tolerance for difference is something we have to be constantly grappling with.